Hey, this is WhyBeAre with BeamNG.drive, and today we're going to be taking a look at a mod for the Ibishu Miramar that adds a wide body to the car as well as some additional parts. So we have three versions we're going to be taking a look at. First we have the custom wide body, next we have the race/drift wide body, and lastly we have the rally wide body. We're going to start off with the custom just because it's the first one in the list, and the description for this, maximum camber, and it does have a pretty good amount of camber. I've seen cars with more, but it has a pretty respectable amount while still being mostly drivable. It actually makes it a pretty decent car for drifting because of how much camber it has. But first, these custom parts. So you see, those fenders are much wider than the stock ones. I mean, that's giving you a few more inches of room on both the left and the right each. So for a quick comparison, let me go ahead and spawn up a regular Miramar and kind of do a side-by-side of these. Actually, I know a cool way to do this. What we'll do is we'll go straight on, and then we can go either under or above the car, and then we go back and forth, and you can see the difference in width right there. Huge difference where you can put those tires and how fat of tires you can put right there. Should help with the grip a lot if you didn't have so much camber. But that's what the race one and rally one are for. So anyway, some other customized parts. First, we have that sun visor right there on the window, that little blue part, and you can actually see it from the inside as well. So you kind of see there's the roof, and then this area right here is the sun visor. Then these mirrors right here you see, those are also custom mirrors, and they do work. You can tell what's behind you kinda. You like see there's a tree or something behind me. You look behind you, that's a tree or something. Mirrors work great. I mean, that mirror is much more useful right here because it's so much bigger and easier to see, but that mirror does work. And then we also have this spoiler in the back right here that can be used as a mirror just for really inconvenient things only because of the way it's angled up. So the way this car drives is actually pretty similar to the race version because it has the same 1.9 liter dual overhead cam engine found in the race version, and the same 5-speed transmission, and even the same suspension. It's just been tuned a bunch to give it all of that camber, and it actually can work pretty good as a car for like doing donuts or as a car for drifting. And we all know WhyBeAres cannot drift. Doesn't stop me from trying though. We're gonna try to drift it on this corner up here and see if we can at least prove to you that it works for drifting. There you go, that was good enough. For a person who can't drift, that was good enough. I came just a little too close to the wall and tapped it, but I didn't hit it hard enough to damage the car. I say A+ in terms of my abilities. Like, you gotta grade on a scale. If somebody's a first grader, you don't grade them as like a college student. I'm like a first grader in drifting, so you grade me like a first grader in drifting. So A+. Anyways, let's say you're even worse at drifting than me though, and let's crash this thing so you can kind of see some damage on these fenders. There we go. Alright, so now you can see a little bit of a bent up fender right there. It actually still is sticking out a little bit even after that impact. Not a lot, but just compared to the other part of the fender that was even pushed in further, it does stick out still. Over here on the back, a lot of beat up to the shape, but it still is sticking out once again. But you can see, fenders deformed very reasonably. I could totally see that deforming like that in that kind of impact. And since we've only been driving this around for about a minute or so in total, we could drive it a little bit more. I mean, we only have 3 cars we're going to be taking a look at, and we could drive each of them for a few minutes and keep the video length a very reasonable amount. So this time we're going to drive it as if it was a normal race car kind of versus a drift car. We're not going to try to drift it, but if it happens to slide, that's just kind of the way the car is set up when you push it to the limits. It slides pretty easily, so like right here, going through that corner, a little bit of a slide into the dirt, but able to keep control of it. One thing that's pretty nice is it's actually easy to keep control of this thing when you slide it and you're not like super trying to drift it or anything. If you're going around a corner and you slide a bit, most of the time you're going to be able to recover no problem. So like a little bit of a slide right there and easy enough to recover. It is a little twitchy sometimes, as you saw right there. I kind of had to like counter steer left and right a bit to get it lined up again, but it's pretty controllable. I mean, I've definitely driven harder to control cars. Whoa, right there, see, I thought I was gonna spin out, but the car kind of just lined itself up, and I think the dirt kind of grabbed it a bit and helped it along too. Either way though, I've thought I was gonna spin out 3 times already basically, and I haven't yet. So that's a pretty good testament to the car. It scares me to drive, but I shouldn't be as scared as I am. Oh, that corner is way tighter than I thought it was. And there we go. Oh, almost tapped that rock. There was a rock right there. I just about tapped it. Barely missing it, though. And now we'll do one more crash. We have a big straightaway for a real high-speed impact. And I don't remember if there's any rocks over there or not. We could crash into those rocks. There. Front impact. How did the left side of the car hold up? So fender is absolutely destroyed, but the way it's destroyed is very, very reasonable. And this fender as well, again, very reasonable. The suspension on this thing is totally freaking out though. It's all up in the air a bit and stuff, all kinds of nonsense. The trunk even popped open somehow. Actually, it didn't pop open, it got bent. I didn't see what part of the impact caused that. So now let's go ahead and swap over to the next version of the Miramar we're going to be looking at, which is not the race/drift widebody. We're going to hold on to that one for later, and instead skip over to the rally widebody, and we're going to get it in green, because that yellow isn't quite striking my fancy. I like yellow, but I don't know if I like that yellow. That green, though, that green looks pretty good. Anyways, there are some more additional parts on this one. You have these mud flaps right here, and you can see they do move around as you drive, and when you're rallying, they move around even more. Right now, they're just moving around a little bit as we go back and forth right here. We also have some changes up on the front. We have some custom rally style lights, and we also have like a little bar that the lights mount on. That's a custom bumper, basically. So you can see one stage of lights, and then when you put on the second high beams, then the rally lights come on, and they are very bright lights. Like even during daytime, they light things up good. Like I swear, these feel brighter than any pair of headlights I've ever seen. I don't know if I'm just imagining that or not, but they are so bright. And then it also has a slightly customized version of the air dam right there that is made for rallying. You might not be able to tell the difference unless you do them side by side, but it is a different style. So that covers all of the custom parts. Let's go ahead and get to driving this thing. And once again, it's kind of based on the race version, but tuned for rallying. And if we go over here to the right, and then there's a hill we can climb up, and that's like a pretty good road for doing some rally style driving, I would think. And you could drive this thing actually just kind of on the terrain. It has enough ground clearance to do that. It's not going to be a great vehicle for that, but it is capable of just driving through the terrains. And right here, I'm scared of falling off the cliff, so I'm driving a lot slower than I necessarily need to. Nobody wants to fall off a cliff, you know? Falling off cliffs sucks, unless it's intentional. You can always do one intentional cliff fall every now and then, though, right? That's not yet, though. Not yet. We're staying on the cliff for a little bit longer. Gotta find the right spot. When I find the right spot, then we go off the cliff. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Now. 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 I wanted to make it kind of feel natural, you know? Like I saw I was spinning out a bit, so let's just say you were trying to recover it and you couldn't. Like I thought that felt like a real natural fall off a cliff kind of moment. And surprisingly enough, it still is able to put power down. Not very well, but it can put power down. Right here. Oh my goodness. Like from this kind of angle, it almost looks like a wrecked 60s American car. No, not even 60s. Maybe even earlier than that. Well, kind of like the Burnside Special in a way. So maybe even 50s. Like just from that angle, the way the trunk is kind of scooped inwards, it's just so different. It's weird. Anyways, I'm gonna bring it back up to the cliff and do a little bit more rallying with this thing. Just barely made it up on the top of the cliff. I could actually like do some maneuvering here to get back onto the road. But you see, it does a pretty decent job here, and you can really see those mud flaps bouncing about every now and then. They bounce a bunch, and it's fun to just watch them. They're a huge distraction. That's the problem. I'm watching these mud flaps, and I'm barely paying attention to the driving. Hey, look at that mud flap. Oh, we're falling off a cliff again. Don't you hate when that happens? Right here's a good place to jump off cliffs. Woo! I'm sorry, if you put me next to a cliff, we're gonna jump off of it. It's just the way things are. Although this time, until it crashed right there, it's doing a really good job of not getting damaged. Anyways, let's bring this back up to the top one more time. We'll drive it around just for a minute or two more. Fall off the cliff one more time again, if there is a cliff when I feel like jumping, and then we'll move on to the race drift one. I just feel like I haven't really been pushing the car quite to its limits. Woo, that was a little weird. That dirt is a lot thicker than I thought it was. It just pulled my car along for a ride. But I want to try to push it a little bit more to its limits. Unfortunately, I'm not the best at this. It's a little bit better, and then we're off the dirt anyways. I mean, you can totally use this on regular roads as well. There's no reason you can't. I mean, rallies, they have regular roads mixed in. I've played Dirt Rally. I know this stuff. Let's do something dumb. Up the wall! Oh, no! Wait. Come on, come on. Don't be on the rock. Don't be on the rock. There we go. We keep driving this. And you know what's interesting is the damage to the fenders has looked so natural. I haven't even mentioned it on those 2 times when I fell off the cliff. It blends in with the rest of the damage so well, I don't notice it, which is exactly what you want. You don't want to notice that the modded parts are mods. You want to think they're stock parts, basically, and that's kind of the feeling I'm getting from it after I've thrown it off those cliff those last few times. So that's great. Anyways, let's do this. Let's try to show you that, yeah, it can do this kind of off-roading as well. It's just you got better vehicles for that. There's a cliff over here, though, so we're not going to get to do it for long. Goodbye, car. Oh, it's on fire. How far will it fall? All the way. All right, so now let's go ahead and move on to the race/drift. I think the appropriate location for that would be Hirochi Raceway. Map is loaded up, so let's go ahead and get the race drift one, and we're gonna get it in flame orange. That's also a great color for a race car, so it works out perfectly. Now this one, you could basically consider it the normal race version that you could get in the game, plus a wide body kit on it and supporting tires and suspension setup for that. I mean, it's a little bit of a simplification of things, but you could basically consider it that. And to me, this feels like a good balance for a race car, actually. Like, I know it says race/drift, but to me, this is kind of how I would set up a race car almost. Like, it does slide, but it's controllable. So you see, I'm going around those corners sliding a little bit, but I don't feel like I might lose control at any moment like the custom one does. Like this one, I have confidence in the way it drives, which means I'm more likely to go fast and actually spin out, kind of ironically. But very easy to drive, and you can drift it as well by tapping the e-brake here and there like that. But it feels like if you want to just drive it normally, you mostly can, just don't touch the e-brake. If you want to drift it, then touch the e-brake. I mean, you can drift it by putting the power down at the wrong time too, of course, but e-brake it or not. Easiest way for me to do it. And say race car mode, drift car mode. Drift car mode. You can also e-brake it a little bit when you feel like you're understeering a little bit and you might not make it through the corner. E-brake it! Just in case. Almost done with a lap. Come on! Screeching the whole way around that corner. And we will be across the line in about like a minute and 20 seconds or so, I think. I don't know. So, that will do it. I don't see a need to do brutal slope. I guess we could do leap of death, though. I mean, it's stupid and unnecessary, but why not? If I don't, people will say stuff. Brutal slope, though, that's just dumb. The impact is just so hard, you wouldn't be able to see the little additions and how they deform. With leap of death, it's probably going to be the same case, but it has a little bit of a chance to actually be able to see what's going on. So I'll just pop this thing off at an angle where it'll hopefully hit on its side or something so you could actually see some damage to the fenders. I don't know what it's going to do. It's just going to rotate, spin, all kinds of tricks, and slow it down. And you can actually kind of make out where the fenders were after that impact. See, so leap of death, it can work. It's not exactly the greatest way to see things, but it does work to actually see, hey, look, the fenders deformed in a manner that's reasonable. I mean, that was a hard impact. I don't know how much of the force really would have transferred into the fenders, whether maybe they held up too strongly or not. I can't say for certain, but the thing I can say is they deformed in a way where it looks proper. Anyways, into the water, defirerize the car. Yeah, that's a word, defirerize. I just made it. Until next time, this has been WhyBeAre, though. I'll see ya.